in church, we learn that song and sing that song from the time I can remember. Have thine own way, Lord, have your way. And if we're not careful, we'll find ourselves singing that just because we know it and not because we mean it. And the only way for it to really affect our life and for our life to be effective in other people's lives is that we sing that song as a prayer to the Lord, have your way in me. Amen. Do we really want His way in our life? Because see, His way is not our ways. Is that not what the Word says? His thoughts are not our thoughts. And so more than likely our ways will begin to change when God begins to show up and His way is being done in our life. Our way will change. Our attitude will change. Our reason will change. Our passions will change. Our desires will change. Now the question is, in every life here, how much of that has changed in you? Because if there's not been a desire change, a passion change, a change in the attitude, if it's all been things on the outside and not things that have happened on the inside, then we've really not sang that song as a prayer to the Lord and opened ourselves up. But let me tell you, as I read very many books about men and women, and I read online and I love to read about men and women who gave their life for the gospel. I like to read about Amy Semple McPherson. I like to read about William Seymour and so many ministers, Catherine Coleman, and I could go down all the way into the 1800s of ministers that have given their all. But you understand that as we read that, and I was reading a book not too long ago about Smith Wigglesworth, and so many times I've said, God, as I watch how God used him, and he heard the voice of God, and he knew when it was God and when it was the enemy, and so many times we get confused at the two. Right. That's the truth. Come on. Yeah. And as I read about him, I think, God, that's what I want. I want to know. I want to get up like he would in the middle of the night when he'd hear something in his house, and he'd go downstairs after hearing all kinds of rumbling in his house, and he would see this black figure in his house, and a voice, a demonic voice that would come forth that says, I've come to kill your family. And he would just look at that, knowing it was Satan, look at it, rebuke it, and turn from it and go back to bed. Yeah. And I think, God, that's what I want. I want to be like, him when I see him and he goes in and there's a dead person, a dead body laying there, but he will not accept the death, but instead he'll take that dead body, put it up against a wall, and say, now you will live. Yeah. Oh, come on, man. Is there anybody else in here that would desire to operate in the Spirit like that? To see that operate in your life. And yet I watch that and I think to myself, God, he's a man of God. I'm a woman of God. I know men and women of God. And yet how come we don't see that? And I couldn't stop there. The Lord wouldn't allow me to stop at just him speaking to the dead and then the dead coming back to life. And wouldn't allow me to stop at him just speaking and rebuking the enemy and then turning from him and ignoring him and the enemy leaving his home. But instead the Lord would take me further into the book and said, look at the place where he had to go before he got there. Right. See, there's a place that you have to go that's called death. It's called Gethsemane. It's called the cross. It's called denial of yourself. It's called paying a price. Yeah, that's it. Oh, come on now. We think we paid a price because we got up on Sunday morning and went to church when everybody else is just sleeping in.
Amen.
We want a pat on the back for that. We want the pastor to start giving out